How are you making that noise? The vocoder. In this video, we're going to be talking about my favorite free plugin. Yes, free. And stay tuned to the end of the video when I compare it to this baby. Not a plugin, but a real analog vocoder. This is the TAL Software Vocoder. I'll be using it in Logic today, but you can use it at any DAW you want. The TAL Vocoder is a free software plugin designed to emulate the classic sound of vintage vocoders. It's a similar concept to how the VC340 was created to emulate, and I guess more of a recreation of the iconic Roland VP330, which was made between 1979 and 1980. But if you don't have $600 to spend on a piece of hardware, don't worry. Let's dive into the TAL Software Vocoder first and break down what makes it such a solid alternative. Plus, did I mention it's free? Yes, I did. The TAL Vocoder comes with an 11-band vocoder engine and even includes some analog style modeling. With this plugin, you can either use its internal carrier synth or route in your own external carrier for more control. In the carrier section, you can pick the waveform for the internal oscillator. Stuff like pulse, saw, noise, or a sub-oscillator. Says only just begun to form crop circles in the carpet. You've also got a few knobs down here to shape your sound. There's tune for adjusting the pitch, porta for that glide effect between notes, and sync to lock everything into your project's tempo. Honestly, I recommend just messing around with all of these knobs and just seeing what kind of sound that you can get out of it. I mean, you can't really do anything wrong. Like, it's a plugin. Like, do whatever you want. All right, so moving on to the vocoder section. This is where you control, well, the vocoder. You've got the 11 frequency bands that I mentioned earlier that you can tweak individually and shape your sound and bring out different parts of your voice. There's also an S control that boosts sibilant sounds like S's and T's. It's a really nice feature to have because when modulating your vocals, those sibilant sounds tend to get lost and your voice just kind of loses clarity. And there's also a release knob, which controls how fast the vocoder backs off after it's triggered. Shorter release gives you more of a choppy effect, and longer release just kind of smooths things out. The last thing I want to mention is the TAL chorus button. This adds a fairly decent chorus effect to your vocals, which makes it sound more colorful and more lush, and I love it. I'll show you an example. Sinking feeling. I could spend forever breaking down each and every knob, but again, the best way to do it is to just kind of break it in. Have as much fun as you can with it. I just wanted to make sure to tell you guys the basics so you knew your way around it first. Speaking of which, we're moving on to routing, because this is very important if you want to use it. Once you've dialed in whatever sound you want on your carrier, it's time to set up the sidechain. If you're using it in standalone mode, it just runs off that internal carrier synth. You can also switch to bus mode and send in your own audio as your modulator. The sidechaining area is up in this corner. Let's say you've played your chords into the instrument, the vocoder, and you have that on your track and you want to sidechain it to one of your vocal tracks. All you're going to do is go up to sidechain, find that vocal track, whatever you have it labeled as, click on it. That's it. Pretty simple. It's pretty fun and pretty simple. If you just want to sing into it and you don't have pre-existing vocals recorded, you can just change it to whatever input your mic is into. Either way is fine. It's just good that you can add it on top of an audio track that wasn't originally recorded with a vocoder, so that later on in a song, maybe you realized you wanted some vocoding on a specific section and you didn't do it. You can just go and throw it on. So that's the basics on how to use that TAL Software Vocoder. That's it for this video. Bye. Hey, you're not done yet. What about that thing? Oh, this one? Well, if you insist. I did promise you guys that I was going to compare it to an analog vocoder, so I'm going to be doing that right now. Let's get into it. This is the Behringer VC340, a modern recreation of the iconic Roland VP330 vocoder, originally released between 1979 and 1980. One of the most famous users of the Roland VP330 was Laurie Anderson. If you don't know who Laurie Anderson is, yes, you do. If you're on TikTok, I think one of her songs actually trended. Trended is a good word, yeah.
Well, you don't know me, but I know you.
Now, there's a lot to love about this instrument. It's a fantastic string synthesizer and has that really nostalgic 80s string synth that is loved by many. It also has built-in choir sounds. I always think of that Titanic song. And that one's... Well, I like the string synth. I can't find a way to make it sound good, and maybe that's just me. Maybe that's user error. Today we're focusing specifically on the vocoder section, but you do have the option to layer in the synth with the vocoder, and then you have string synths while you're using a vocoder, and it just sounds really cool and grand. Or you can turn the string synths completely off and just have the vocoder. Each section has its own level slider, so you can mix and match however you want. Now, the VC340 might not have as many tweakable controls as the TAL Software Vocoder, but it definitely nails that classic vocoder sound. And honestly, it sounds even warmer because of its full analog design, given that they are pretty similar in their controls, like the tone knob. Think of that as your EQ, bringing out the brighter and darker parts of your voice. Something really nice about the VC340 compared to the TAL is that there's not only a release fader, but there's also a separate attack fader, though the attack control really only applies to the first note that you play. So let's say you're playing a chord, and while still holding down that chord, you play some other notes. Those notes won't follow the attack setting, but regardless, it still gives you a little more dynamic control over your sound. The VC340 has more than enough room with a 3-octave keyboard, but there is a little switch that gives you access to a 4th octave if you need the extra range. And there's also a pitch modulator over here. One last cool feature I wanted to mention is that the VC340 has an external input, which means you can run another synth through it to use the vocoder. So you can actually process that sound coming through the VC340 using its vocoder, its filters, its modulation, whatever. And with such limited synth action, it feels like a necessary thing to have, you know? So to set up the VC340, just plug your mic into the XLR mic input on the back, then run a 1/4-inch cable from the output into your audio interface, just like you would with a guitar or another external synth. From there, you can easily record it into your DAW or hook it up to your monitors, an amp, a PA system if you're doing some sort of live stuff. I really do enjoy this vocoder, and I think it does a great job emulating the VP330. And I believe it has this sort of intentional to it that makes it so nostalgic. When you compare the VC340 to the TAL Vocoder, yes, it is a little more bare bones, but that's why you can hook up another synth to it. Given you can do that with the TAL Vocoder as well. I don't know. I really do see myself, if I was a touring artist, that I would bring something like this on stage rather than a laptop with a vocoder, or just having like the front of house put it on my microphone. So people who want to tour with a vocoder, I 1000% recommend this thing to bring with you. It might be a little tricky getting used to the levels, the dynamics, but it's gonna be super magical and special on stage. Also, just don't bring a laptop on stage. The TAL Vocoder, on the other hand, is free and super accessible and pretty forgiving. You know, you can't really break it. So I do think it is a better fit for most modern musicians, especially if you're working across many genres and want to use a vocoder but don't want the hassle. They both have a vintage charm to it, which I truly enjoy. So I'm obviously very back and forth with this, but it's kind of a given for what you need. I say that if you do have the money to drop and you are into the idea of having a vocoder or using a vocoder, I would recommend dropping the $600. Given most synthesizers, that's really affordable. And it's such a cool thing to have in your collection. I also do remember having more fun with the VC340 in 1 hour than I ever remember having with the TAL Vocoder. It always just comes down to the question like, well, I can do it in a DAW. Why do I need to buy the physical thing? I don't know. You want to do it in the DAW? Do it in the DAW. I just gave you an awesome option. For those of you moving forward in your music production journey and your vocoder journey specifically, I wanted to give you a look into a really cool analog vocoder, hopefully to inspire you and get you excited or interested in the external part of music production. I'd also like to thank Jackie Myers for lending me this beautiful beast. I'm going to put his Instagram up on screen right now. Please go follow him if you do so, please. If you do so, please. But all right, that's it for this video.